The bridge of the Ethelred was a testament to Galactic Federation efficiency. Gleaming chrome, holographic displays projecting perfect tactical overlays, and a crew of 6, all members of the highly logical and telepathically linked Xylosian race, moved with silent, synchronized precision. Commander Zarthus, his 6 multi-jointed limbs clicking softly against the deck plates, observed the unfolding battle with a calm that bordered on serene. Status update, tactical, Zarthus broadcasted mentally to his subordinate. Enemy fleet is holding formation, Commander. Their primary dreadnought, identified as Arbiter of Vehemence, is anchoring the enemy's main line. Secondary cruisers are peeling off as expected for flanking maneuvers. Standard hammer and anvil assault pattern predicted. Zarthus processed the data. This was the 6th engagement with the K'tharr Hegemony in as many cycles, and each time, their tactics were depressingly consistent. Formations, energy signatures, even their chosen battle cries, were all within the parameters of predictable, quantifiable aggression. Victory was a mathematical certainty for the Federation. It was merely a matter of calculating the most efficient path to achieve it. Then came the humans. A new species, barely a century removed from their home star system, they had inexplicably inserted themselves into the galactic conflict. The Xylosians, along with the other 11 species of the Federation, had initially welcomed them, seeing potential in their rapid technological growth. But that welcome had quickly curdled into bewildered frustration. Humans were chaotic. Their starships, though well-built, were often mismatched, displaying a bewildering array of modifications that made no logical sense. Their communications were a cacophony of emotional outbursts and bizarre metaphors. And their tactics. Zarthus shuddered, his chitinous plates momentarily flaring with a minor sympathetic static discharge. They were anathema to every principle of logical warfare. Commander, Tactical's mental projection was tinged with something akin to concern. The human auxiliary fleet has arrived in Sector Gamma-7. They are not maintaining the designated defensive formation. Zarthus focused the main view screen. Indeed, the Federation ships, all sleek, triangular vessels locked into precise geometric patterns, were arrayed perfectly to repel the K'tharr advance. Behind them, where the human ships were supposed to form a secondary defensive line, was a swirling, disorganized mass of vessels. The lead human ship, a patchwork monstrosity designated ISS Ulysses, a vessel with more external plating and exposed conduits than an industrial refinery, was actually accelerating towards the K'tharr line. Are they breaking formation? Zarthus inquired, his mental voice carefully modulated to hide his rising exasperation. Affirmative, Commander. The Ulysses is heading directly towards the Arbiter of Vehemence at maximum burn. Other human vessels are attempting to follow, but their acceleration curves are varied. The Arbiter of Vehemence, a K'tharr dreadnought bristling with particle cannons, detected the rogue human ship. Its main cannons began to charge, a faint, ominous glow emanating from its primary weapon ports. They're going to be destroyed, Zarthus stated flatly. Inform them to return to formation immediately. We have attempted to hail them, Commander. Their comms officer, a Captain Elias Vance, responded with a series of non sequiturs. Elaborate. He stated, and I quote, "Just warming up the engine, folks. Time to show these overgrown space rhinos how we party." Followed by what appears to be human vocalizations of percussive beats. Zarthus' sensor array registered the Ulysses opening fire. Not with a coordinated volley, but with a scattershot of missiles and energy blasts, all seemingly aimed around the Arbiter, disrupting its targeting rather than scoring direct hits. It was like watching a child throw pebbles at a skyscraper. The K'tharr, predictably, diverted a significant portion of their firepower to swat this annoying fly. The Ulysses, miraculously, began to weave and bob, executing impossible maneuvers that defied standard thrust vectors. It was dancing. A chaotic, ugly, utterly illogical dance. Then, the first inexplicable event occurred. A smaller human frigate, the Spirit of Endeavor, instead of engaging the K'tharr, suddenly boosted hard downward, directly into the path of a rapidly approaching volley of K'tharr plasma torpedoes aimed at the Ethelred. What are they doing? Zarthus projected, a flicker of genuine alarm piercing his Xylosian calm. They are performing a highly inefficient, suicidal intercept, Commander. They are sacrificing their vessel to protect us. The spirit of Endeavor exploded in a brilliant flash, its shields collapsing under the overwhelming K'tharr firepower. A wave of distress signals, human in origin, flooded the Federation comms. But interwoven with the sorrow, Zarthus detected something else, a surge of primal fury. The remaining human ships, instead of retreating or breaking, suddenly erupted with an almost maniacal aggression. The Ulysses, still hounding the Arbiter of Vehemence, now began to fire its main cannons in a steady, relentless barrage, each shot accompanied by a burst of human battle cries that somehow translated into pure, unadulterated rage through the universal translator. "This is not logical," Zarthus murmured, his sensors struggling to keep up with the new variables. Their efficiency metrics have plummeted, but their effectiveness has increased exponentially. "Commander, the K'tharr dreadnought's shields are flickering. And their formation, it's breaking down. They are allocating more resources to targeting the human ships than the primary Federation fleet." Zarthus watched, utterly bewildered. The K'tharr, masters of rigid doctrine and calculated aggression, were being drawn into a brawl. A messy, illogical, utterly undignified brawl by a species that seemed to revel in it. The humans weren't fighting to win by attrition or strategy. They were fighting to make the K'tharr angry. The Arbiter of Vehemence, its telepathic commander's cold logic overwhelmed by a foreign torrent of irrational fury, broke its primary formation. It veered to pursue the audacious, mocking Ulysses, its colossal particle cannons firing in a frenzy of infinite rage. The K'tharr's once perfect lines shattered, replaced by an uncoordinated hunt. Their cruisers, instead of holding their flanking positions, began chasing the smaller, faster human frigates, which wove through the asteroid field like a school of frantic, glittering fish. Zarthus watched in stunned silence. The humans had taken the K'tharr's most potent weapon, their overwhelming force and unyielding discipline, and turned it against them. The K'tharr were not built for this kind of combat. Their tactical models, their predictive algorithms, all of their carefully constructed battle doctrines were failing. They couldn't compute this. They couldn't predict what the humans would do next. A human comms officer's voice, brimming with gleeful madness, crackled over the unified Federation channel. "Hey guys, remember that time old General Grunter tried to march us through the K'tharr minefield? We're doing that now, but on purpose." Zarthus' sensor log showed the impossible. A small human patrol ship, the Rogue's Gambit, was deliberately flying into a concentrated K'tharr minefield. But instead of exploding, it was somehow detonating the mines in a choreographed pattern. The explosions formed a brilliant, fiery shield that cut off a squadron of K'tharr cruisers from their main fleet. "Commander, they are using the mines as a defensive screen," Tactical projected, their voice sounding as though they had just witnessed a fundamental law of physics being broken. "But how?" "The detonation sequences are random," Zarthus retorted, feeling the last vestiges of his composure slipping. "It is not random, Commander. They are timing the blasts to the K'tharr's shield frequencies. They are using the K'tharr's own weapons against them." The humans were not just fighting, they were innovating on the fly, a concept completely alien to the logical Xylosians and the methodical K'tharr. The K'tharr's rigid training and logical minds were a weakness in this chaos. They couldn't conceive of a species that would sacrifice a ship to protect an ally or use a minefield as a tool. Their minds were built for order and efficiency. The human mind was built for anything but. The ISS Ulysses, still hounding the colossal Arbiter, performed a final, desperate maneuver. It accelerated to a speed that should have torn its own hull apart before cutting its engines and letting the enemy dreadnought's immense gravitational pull slingshot it around the ship's massive hull. "What is their objective now?" Zarthus asked. "They appear to be tagging the dreadnought's primary thrusters with what looks like explosive charges, Commander. A human combatant is on an external maintenance platform." "A single human?" on the outside of their ship in the middle of battle. Zarthus projected the concept, almost causing a telepathic feedback loop. That is insanity. The holographic display showed a lone figure, a human in a bulky battle suit, using some kind of handheld device to attach charges to the Arbiter's engine nacelles. He was so close that the Dreadnought's point defense turrets couldn't get a lock. It was like a parasite clinging to a leviathan, a microscopic speck causing colossal damage. The Arbiter of Vehemence, its logical mind unable to process this absurd, tiny threat, began to thrash, its massive cannons firing wildly at nothing. "No!" Zarthus yelled, his voice echoing on the bridge for the first time in his career. "Federation fleet, advance now. The K'tharr are in disarray." The Federation vessels, finally given a logical command they could follow, surged forward. With the K'tharr's formation in ruins and their command ship flailing aimlessly, the battle was a rout. The K'tharr, built for a decisive, clean fight, had no protocol for this kind of messy, unpredictable melee. They broke and fled, their grand invasion fleet scattered to the cosmic winds. Hours later, the battlefield was silent, save for the hum of Federation ships and the rescue beacons of the few remaining human vessels. Commander Zarthus stood on his bridge, watching as the ISS Ulysses limped back, its hull riddled with scars and its engines belching smoke. A mental transmission came from Captain Vance of the Ulysses. "Hey, Commander. We did it, right? Took down the big guy. You guys finished up the rest. Teamwork makes the dream work." Zarthus looked at the data. His Xylosian fleet had won the battle with minimal casualties, but it was the humans who had won the war. They had fundamentally broken the K'tharr's will to fight. They hadn't defeated them with superior logic or advanced weaponry. They had defeated them with pure, unadulterated madness. As the human rescue crews began to pull their injured comrades from their ships, Zarthus saw a group of them huddle together, sharing what looked like a liquid in small, brown containers, laughing and patting each other on the back. A human concept he had only ever read about in dusty data logs, celebrating. He would report this to the Federation Council. He would try to explain. He would write a formal report on the unpredictable terrors of Sector Gamma-7, a new weapon in the Federation's arsenal, a force more powerful than any particle cannon or shield. Zarthus looked at the human fleet, their chaotic ships, their wild, emotional broadcasts, and their incredible, infuriating ability to win by doing everything wrong. He finally understood. Humanity wasn't a logical fighting force. It was a force of nature, and no one could predict what a storm would do next.